Hey everyone! Welcome back to Go English, and welcome to another day of 30 days to build your English identity. I'm Mizu.
And I'm Lucas. It's so good to have you back. Mizu, how's your week been?
Honestly, pretty good. I caught up with one of my oldest friends yesterday, and we ended up talking for almost 3 hours. I didn't even notice the time.
That's always a good sign. You know someone's important when you keep saying, okay, I should go now, and then you stay for another hour?
Exactly. Some people just make conversations feel easy.
And that actually reminds me of today's topic. We're talking about relationships.
Not just dating. We're talking about all kinds of relationships. Friends, family, coworkers, classmates, and all the people who become part of our lives.
Because if you think about it, some of the conversations we have most often are about people. Who you're close to, who you admire, who always makes you laugh, or even someone who's been driving you crazy lately.
Yeah, relationships give us endless things to talk about. And if you're learning English, being able to talk about the people in your life makes your English feel much more personal and much more real.
So today, we'll help you talk naturally about the relationships that matter to you, using everyday English that native speakers actually use.
So grab your coffee, relax, and let's start building your English identity, one real conversation at a time. You know, can I ask you something a little random, Lucas?
Those are usually the interesting questions. Go ahead.
Imagine this. Your phone is still there, every photo, every app, everything. But every contact disappears, except one. You only get to keep one person's number. Who stays?
Wow, that's harder than I expected. My first answer came really fast, and then I immediately changed my mind.
Really? Why?
Because at first, I was thinking about the people I spend the most time with. But then I asked myself, who do I actually need? That's a completely different question.
Yeah, I noticed something similar. I wasn't thinking about the funniest person or even my favorite person. I was thinking about the person who makes me feel calm when life gets messy.
That's interesting. Sometimes the people who matter most aren't the loudest people in our lives. They're just the ones who make hard days feel easier. All right, here's another one. Imagine you just got the best news of the year. Maybe you got your dream job, passed an important exam, or achieved something you've worked really hard for. Without even thinking, who do you want to tell first? Now, same question, different day. Something didn't work out. You feel disappointed, maybe even embarrassed. Who do you hope answers your call?
Maybe it's the same person, maybe it's someone completely different. Neither answer is right or wrong, but it tells you something.
Exactly. Relationships aren't only about who makes us happy. Sometimes they're about who makes us feel safe. And today, that's exactly what we're going to talk about.
So, who came to mind first?
My brother.
Really? I was so sure you were going to say your best friend.
Honestly, so was I, but then I remembered something.
What happened?
A few years ago, I completely failed a job interview. I walked home thinking that was a disaster. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I ignored every message.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do that. When we're disappointed, our first instinct is usually to hide.
Exactly. A few hours later, someone knocked on my door.
Your brother.
Yep. He walked in holding a pizza.
Wait, did someone tell him what happened?
No. At least, not that I know of.
So he just showed up?
Yeah. To this day, I still don't know why. Maybe he had a feeling. Maybe it was just good timing. Who knows?
That's actually kind of amazing. So did the two of you sit down and have one of those deep, emotional conversations?
Not at all. He put the pizza on the table, looked at me, and said, "What movie are we watching?" That's it.
Seriously? He didn't ask about the interview?
Not once. And honestly, I was grateful because I wasn't ready to talk. What I needed wasn't advice. I just didn't want to feel alone.
I love that. Sometimes we think helping someone means finding the perfect words, but a lot of the time, just being there is enough.
Exactly. We watched a movie, finished the pizza, he went home. Nothing dramatic happened, but somehow I felt much better.
You know, I think that's why he was the first person you thought of. Not because he always had the answers, but because you never had to pretend around him.
Yeah, some relationships aren't built on big moments. They're built on lots of small ones that quietly tell you, you don't have to go through this alone.
And honestly, those are often the strongest relationships of all.
Yeah.
You know, something just hit me.
Hmm?
When you were talking about your brother, you never actually described him.
I didn't?
No. You never said, he's supportive. You just told me he showed up holding a pizza.
You're right. I didn't even notice that.
And somehow, I feel like I know him.
That's funny because if I just said, my brother is really supportive, I don't think it would have meant much.
Exactly. But the second you mentioned the pizza, I could picture the whole scene. Someone knocking on the door, walking in without making a big deal out of it, just quietly being there.
Yeah. Sometimes one tiny moment says more than a long explanation ever could.
It reminds me of something. Whenever people ask me about my closest friends, I never think of adjectives first. I always think of memories.
Same. Because memories are usually why we chose those words in the first place.
Right. The memory comes first. The description comes later. Right. That's the key.
So don't start with the adjective?
Exactly. Start with the memory, or the feeling. The adjective comes naturally after that.
Oh, so instead of saying, she's nice.
Say something like, I always feel calmer after talking to her.
Yeah, I can actually imagine that person.
Exactly. Or instead of, he's supportive, say, I know he'll answer even if it's 2 in the morning.
That tells me so much more than just, he's supportive.
Right. And instead of, we're close, you could say, even if we haven't talked for months, we somehow just pick up right where we left off.
I love that. You don't need to explain the friendship. I can feel it.
Exactly. You're not giving people labels, you're giving them moments. And people remember moments.
You know what's interesting? None of those sound impressive. They just sound real.
And real is usually easier to remember.
Can I ask you something?
Always.
If someone asked you, what's your brother like? Would you tell this pizza story first?
Honestly? Yeah, probably.
Even though it happened years ago?
Yeah, because that's the moment I understood who he was.
I like that. Sometimes, one ordinary day ends up explaining an entire relationship.
Exactly. It's usually not the biggest memory, it's just the one that never left.
First, think about the person.
Okay.
Then, remember one moment with them.
Just one memory?
That's enough. Then ask yourself, how did that moment make you feel?
And after that?
What did you learn from that person?
Oh, and finally, why do I still remember that moment?
It's kind of funny. If I asked you to describe your dad, you probably wouldn't start with, he's patient.
No, I'd probably tell you a story, like when he taught me how to drive. I stalled the car over and over. I felt terrible. I thought, I'm never going to get this. He just smiled and said, we'll try again tomorrow. That's the part I still remember.
See, when you tell it like that, I don't just learn about your dad, I understand why you admire him.
Exactly. The driving lesson isn't really the point. It just happens to be the moment that showed me who he was.
Yeah, I think all of us have memories like that. Little moments that quietly change how we see someone.
Yeah.
Can I try something?
Go for it.
Imagine I say, she's kind. That's fine, but it doesn't really stay with me.
Yeah, because kind can mean 100 different things.
Exactly. Now listen to this.
she's always checking in on people.
I can already picture someone.
Or she notices when you're quieter than usual.
I think everyone has someone like that. The person who somehow knows something's wrong before you say anything.
Instead of saying she's kind.
Tell me what she does.
Exactly. Maybe she's always checking in on people.
Or she notices when you're quieter than usual.
Yeah, little things like that.
Those are the moments that show kindness, not the word itself.
Right. And maybe, even in a crowded room, she somehow makes you feel seen.
Now I don't just know she's kind, I can actually feel it.
See? I never actually used the word kind.
You didn't need to. I already felt it.
Exactly.
What about this one? We trust each other.
Instead of saying it, show me what trust looks like.
Maybe I never have to pretend everything's okay around him.
Yeah, that's trust.
And sometimes you don't even have to talk.
Exactly. Even silence feels comfortable.
I love that. Sometimes silence says more than words. That last one I really love.
The silence?
Yeah, when you don't feel pressured to keep talking, you can just sit there.
That's actually pretty rare. I used to think good conversations meant talking nonstop.
Me too. But some of my favorite conversations are the ones where nobody's trying to impress anyone.
Just being yourself.
Exactly. I think that's when you know you're really comfortable with someone.
All right, Mizu. Can we try something?
Sure.
Let's forget about perfect English for a minute. If I asked you, tell me about someone who's important to you, what's the first memory that pops into your head?
See, that's interesting because my brain doesn't go looking for vocabulary. It goes looking for a moment.
Exactly. Mine does the same thing. It's almost never, how do I describe this person? It's more like, oh, I remember that day.
And that's a much easier place to start because you're not trying to invent an answer. You're just remembering something that actually happened.
All right, let's start there. Who's the person? That's all. No long introduction.
Just imagine you're talking to a friend. You might say, "This is my older sister," or "We've been friends since college." That's enough to get the story started.
Yeah, most conversations don't begin with a speech. They begin with one simple sentence. Now tell us one thing that happened. Not your whole relationship, just one day.
It doesn't have to be a huge moment either. Sometimes it's something really ordinary, like sharing a meal, getting a message at the right time, or someone waiting for you after work.
Funny how those little moments are usually the ones we remember years later.
The big moments make great photos. The little ones usually become the stories we tell.
I like that. Here's the part I'm always curious about. Why that memory? Out of everything that's happened, why did your mind choose this one?
Maybe because that was the day you trusted them for the first time. Or maybe it was the first time you realized they really understood you.
Sometimes you don't even understand it right away. Years later, you look back and think, oh, that's why that day stayed with me. One last question. Did that moment change anything? Even something small?
Maybe now you call your parents a little more often. Maybe you learn to listen before reacting. Or maybe you simply became the kind of friend someone else could rely on.
I like that. The best relationships don't just change how we see other people. Sometimes they change the kind of person we become.
Yeah, and those are usually the stories worth telling.
You know, Mizu, I was thinking about something while we were talking.
Uh-oh, that usually means you've got another question.
Maybe, but this one's for me too. When I think about the people who've really shaped my life, it's funny what I remember.
Not birthdays.
No, not even how often we met.
Really? Then what is it?
It's how I felt around them. Some people made me laugh. Some made me feel calmer. Some just made me believe I could handle things I thought I couldn't.
Yeah. I don't think we remember people because they were perfect. We remember them because they changed something in us, even if it was something really small.
Exactly. A sentence. A ride home. Someone waiting for you. Someone saying, text me when you get there. It doesn't sound like much until years later when you realize you've never forgotten it.
You know what's kind of nice about that?
What?
It means we probably do that for other people too, without even realizing it.
I hope so.
Me too. Because sometimes the smallest thing we do for someone today ends up becoming the story they tell years from now. Okay, Lucas, you've made me curious now. Which memory would you tell?
Honestly, the first one that came to mind surprised me a little. The first person that comes to mind is my cousin. We grew up together, so we've been through a lot. But one memory always comes back whenever I think about him. A few years ago, I had to give a presentation at work. I was so nervous that I kept saying, I'm going to mess this up. He didn't try to convince me I was wrong. He just looked at me and said, you've already done the hard part. Just go in there and be yourself. It wasn't a long conversation. Actually, it probably lasted less than a minute. But for some reason, I still remember it. Now, whenever I'm nervous about something, I hear those words in my head, and I think that's why I trust him so much. He's never tried to solve my problems for me. He just has a way of reminding me that I can handle them.
You know what I like about that?
What?
I don't really remember the presentation. I remember your cousin.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
For me, it's my grandmother. She wasn't someone who talked very much. When I was younger, I actually thought she was just quiet. One rainy afternoon, we were sitting by the window drinking tea. Neither of us was saying anything. Back then, I remember thinking, this is kind of boring. Now, I look back at that afternoon completely differently. There wasn't a big conversation, nothing exciting happened, but somehow I felt safe. I never had to pretend to be happy. I never felt like I needed to keep the conversation going. I could just be there. I think that's why when someone I care about is having a hard time, I don't always feel like I need to give advice. Sometimes I just sit with them, because someone once did that for me.
That's interesting. Your story is so different from mine, but it gave me exactly the same feeling.
Really?
Yeah. Neither of them was about some huge life-changing event, just one ordinary day.
Funny how those are usually the memories that stick.
If we'd both answered that question 5 minutes ago, I don't think either of us would have planned to tell those stories.
No, they just kind of showed up.
Which is probably why they feel real. All right. Your turn.
And don't overthink it. Seriously.
Just think of one person. Then ask yourself, what's the first memory I think of? That's probably the story to tell.
It doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be something really small. A phone call, a walk home, a meal you shared, a joke you still remember.
Or maybe it's a moment that didn't seem important at the time until years later.
Those are usually my favorite stories because they're the ones that happen to all of us.
So tell us about yours. Not the whole relationship, just one moment. We'd genuinely love to hear it.
And when you're reading the comments, take a look at other people's stories too. You might be surprised how many of them remind you of someone in your own life.
We'll see you in Day 13's lesson. Take care of yourselves and the people who make life a little easier.
Bye, everyone.
Your English journey doesn't end here. Click on the next video and keep learning with us. We've carefully selected it to help you build more confidence, more fluency, and more real